Well, good day, everyone. Um, Alright, where are we? I don't normally record narrations. We have a VR Commodore heater tap that was leaking, and the biggest reason why that was the case was a mild steel hose clamp that, even though, it was really tight, the clamp had failed and it wasn't actually tight, it just felt like it was tight. So it brings me to a couple of points. The heater tap you're looking at now is actually really rusty. It looks really good until you pull it off and look at the metal portion of the heater tap. So if you can't remember how old the tap is on your car, maybe you should change it. It's not like about to break through, like I'm demonstrating, but yeah, it's thin. It's a lot thinner than it looks even. And plus it's full of crap in the inside of it because it started to corrode away. That's what's all over my hand. Also, it doesn't operate as freely as it should. Here's the new tap that's going on. It was $25 actually, which is, yeah, you can get them cheaper on eBay for the same thing. The tap has a horrible bracket thing that sits on the vacuum servo. It was a pain in the ass to remove and install, and it was using that stud with the 10mm nut integral with the stud. So yeah, cooling system. I mean, we got mild steel hose clamps here. They're inflexible, and once they're at a round, they won't seal because they won't put an even pressure around the perimeter of the hose, or circumference if you like. That is a dodgy hose clamp. When I tried to remove the hose clamp, the worm screw actually just came out like you see there. They're the ones that are going on. They're second hand, but they're not that old. They're off the EB. We put T-bolt clamps on that. T-bolt clamps are much better than either of those types, but at least at the minimum, that's what you should be running, the stainless steel band worm drive clamp. They're flexible bands, they conform to the shape of the hose better, and they tend to last longer too. Those mild steel hose clamps, they're really a one-way trip. They were cheap as hell to produce, and yeah, what can I say? That's pretty much it. They're just cheaper to make than the stainless ones. So the only good thing to do with those hose clamps, I'm not sure when it happens in the video, but is to be chucked in the trailer that's behind me actually in the video. Sort of having a bit of a rant about how crap they are. But the other type of hose clamp you see on cars, most commonly used, is a squeeze type clamp or a spring clamp, and they're a pain in the ass to work with, and yeah, they work okay. I mean, generally they seal the hose alright. But there you go, that's the only good use for those mild steel clamps. One of them bounced out, which is a pain in the ass, but anyway. So what else have we got here? The actual hoses themselves really should be replaced when they look like that, because you get a guaranteed, 10 years plus out of a hose, or, I mean, really you should replace them sooner than that, but these hoses are original, the car's nearly 20 years old, so hoses last a very long time, people. If you have one blow, it's because you wanted it to blow, i.e. you never looked after it, you never replaced the hose while it was still in reasonable condition. By reasonable, I mean not about to blow. If hoses are original and your car was built, close to the year 2000, you really need to replace the hoses right now, if they haven't already been done. Because 14 years for a hose is probably about the maximum I'd ever, in fact 10 years is even the maximum. Personally, I like to throw out hoses every 5 years, and if you buy T-bolt hose clamps, you won't have to throw them out every time you replace hoses. But what starts to happen is, I'm actually feeling for the ridge that develops in the end of the hose. Where the hose clamp is, it compresses the end of the hose in. Where the hose clamp ends, where it starts to come out again, it actually forms a ridge on the inside of the hose, and it starts to chop through the hose. That's partly why they split where the hose clamps are on each end. Have you ever noticed hoses usually, unless they're absolutely, real old hoses like that are, over 20 years old, they actually tend to split at the end. That's the reason why, because the hose clamps chop through the end of the hose. They start leaking a bit, blah blah blah, people tighten them to compensate, and that's what you end up with, because You know, the more you tighten the hose clamp up, especially if the hose gets a bit soft or even a bit hard, and it'll start to chop through the hose, because you've got 16 psi in the cooling system pushing the hose out against the hose clamp. So that's the technical reason why they go. You know, the rubber doesn't last forever, and that's the thing, you know. So those hose clamps are a lot nicer than mild steel hose clamps. This is, you know, that's the other type of hose clamp under the bonnet of the VR. That's on a fuel return hose on the pressure regulator, and it's not a very good type of hose clamp. You should really look at the other components under your car bonnet that are made of rubber at the same time, i.e. hoses. And yeah, if they look crap, replace them too. If the fuel, you know, supply and return lines are crap, chuck them out and put new clamps on them. It's better than having them blow or leak.
Okay, well, this is a bit of hose that's like, it's pretty sad, you know, you can't really see in it very well, but it's just old and screwed. It's another bit of hose. It's pretty miserable looking in there, and you can see where I chopped it off, where it joins onto the rest of the hose. If it's going to focus, yeah, you can see the ridge there where it started to chop through it, because the pressure pushes it out against the hose clamp. Another reason why I like T-bolt hose clamps, because, you know, it hasn't got these sharp edges like worm drive clamps do. They're a nice round edge. Now, here's a tip. When you chop the ends of the hose off, they're always full of crap. You know, like filthy rust and shit. You can sort of see it there. All I did was get the closed pair of scissors, and I scraped out the inside of the hose. You know what I mean? So all that shit came out of it. Yeah, it hasn't run coolant. It should have. That's why the radiator's gone and blah blah blah. But it leaked coolant, and you know. So what can I say? You know, the radiator was old anyway. It's only not run coolant for not that long, but you can see it's nice and clean and black. You know, don't go fitting taps or any components to a cooling system where the inside of the hose is rough. It needs to be smooth and free of crap, or it won't seal. I don't recommend putting on supplementary sealants. There's no real point in doing that. If it's not going to seal without it, it's not going to seal with it. Sometimes a bit of aviation gasket cement allows for a new hose on, you know, a radiator spout to slip straight on, but you know, it can cause problems where it lubricates the hose, so you should be careful of that too. And don't wring the shit out of it, like just tighten it up firm so it doesn't leak. You know, you don't want it to twist around too much, but only use the gasket cement, the aviation cement, on sparingly and on things that are really super tight that you can't get on, you know. So yeah. Well, we got a nice new heater tap fitted. I put the horrible bracket thing back on, which you can see just down there. So holds the hoses and all that. I chopped the ends of the hoses off, which are here. So yeah, they're all horrible and fucked, and yeah, well, the only thing I haven't done, which you guys need to remember to do as well, somewhere down here, fuck knows where, there it is, a vacuum hose. And have a look at the end and make sure it's not rooted. It's a little bit hard, but I don't think it'll matter. Yeah, it's a complete fiddly fuck everything to get in. Get that stupid camera strap to stay out of the stupid shot. Yeah, as I was saying, we can get the camera strap to stay out of the shot and not push buttons to turn it off. It's pretty difficult to do one-handed, but zoom in a bit more. That's on, so there we go. Don't forget the vacuum line. This tap's all stiff too, like, it's a bit better now that it's been operated a few times, but yeah, it's still stiffer than it should be. Yeah, but if your header tap looks like that, it's a rusty piece of shit that's probably original. I suggest you throw it out and put a new one on. Then it won't bust, you won't waste coolant, and you won't be sad. I think it's been leaking from that shaft seal too.